All right. We got A Tale of Two Top Tiers by yo boy Leon Massey.
Legend tells of two kingdoms who shared the same land, separated not by distance, but time. Both took a very similar form. Jovial characters, a colourful cast, 20-odd faces, having a blast. For a while, this was bliss, a place for respite. But this land was cursed, and soon came the blight.
Oh, that's
a lust
a good
for
one.
power proceeded to prosper. Those who were hexed held hell in their hands and used its strength to divide and command. At the bottom were low tiers, too weak to fight back. It wasn't that long till they...
What, were these really like the bottom tiers? Bro, when I played, what Super Smash is this? Is this Brawl? Because I guess if this was Brawl, then I don't think I was paying attention to like the internet really, or the tier lists, or what the meta was and whatnot. And who's this? Okay, whatever. This is so funny. Like these are like the bottom tier characters. I think if he's talking about Brawl,
They gave up their attack. Those just above them fared a bit better, and some even saw slight success. But it wouldn't take long for those in the middle to be round up and end off repressed. This left the handful of high tiers to fight off their colossus. A knight from the sky and a fox from the stars, both consumed by a lust to conquer, had torn through their cohorts.
bro, wasn't Snake like a top tier as well in Brawl? I know like Benedict in the beginning he was like overwhelmingly oppressive, and I mean, because I never played any tournaments or anything. I just played in my circle of friends, and I know some people played Fox, but my buddy had a super a super chip on his shoulder to try to get good with Snake and to do what was it called, grenade sliding or mortar sliding? That's what it was.
And with one final bout, they'd soon have what they'd wanted. In their victory, they claimed the crown, a symbol of being the best. They were the king of their castles. However, a king without a kingdom is merely a man on the throne of decay.
Yeah.
Their quest for control had left the kingdom crumbling and abandoned, the rubble left behind becoming the seedbed that would allow the land to claim its next victim.
Ooh.
However, this fable is only part true. While it is the case that there was power between two, one was a tyrant and the other was firm, for the fox was a force who held the kingdom together.
Well, Fox, the only reason people accept Fox as like a top tier is because his moveset was aesthetically the same, but his moves were just like really fast. And it's not like his priority was like anything crazy. I mean, even though Shine was like still really good, and you can't really tell like the frame data. Like I mean, me as a casual, I couldn't tell like the actual frame data if something seemed fast or something seemed slow or anything like that. I just played Fox because he was cool, and I played the old Fox games. But Meta Knight was like the new kid on the block if you're talking about Brawl. I mean, yes, he's like a derivative off of like Kirby, and I think when Meta Knight came out, there was like that Kirby show, like the animated series that I watched, and when Meta Knight popped onto the show, I was like, oh my god, he's the cool guy of Kirby World. I was like, dang. And then they made him into a video game character, and I was like, this is the other cool guy.
Not fairly perhaps, but certainly stable. His kingdom is still growing, slowly but surely, so perhaps there's more to this mistold story. And then they built 2 more castles, and the powers that be kept smiting down anyone living in Brawl's remains.
Yeah.
Sometimes they hit melee. Let's be real for a second. Somebody has to be the king of the castle. In any game that's even slightly asymmetrical, something will come out on top. Maybe it's these guys, or them. Maybe even this bird will be the first character to get banned, despite the fact that Kakuin's better. Love him or hate him, royalty is here to stay.
Yeah.
And personally, I think they should be fed to the guillotine. But enough about the British monarchy. This is a two-way relationship though. If the people want to play a game, then they need a king. But if their king ends up being enough of a nuisance to push people away, then the game stops being played in the first place. If you'll follow my thought trail, then one of the things that keeps a game alive, especially those that aren't patched anymore, is a good king or queen. But what does it mean to be a good monarch? Is it balance? Etiquette? Ooh. Using 37 million of the taxpayers' money to renovate your house?
What?
While it's hard to pinpoint any one thing, Fox in Melee and Meta Knight in Brawl are two sides of the same coin.
Oh, he's talking about, okay, two different games, but the same concept of one character being overwhelmingly oppressive.
That comes from the top tier treasury, and yet between them they manage to spin two very different histories. These two characters share a lot of similarities. They exist in the same series, can both be aggressive characters, and are both understood from outside observers to be infamously top tier. However, the differences come in what these characters did and have been doing to their game throughout their lifespan. Fox is memed to hell and back. This image wouldn't exist and be many people's understanding of competitive Melee if there wasn't some element of truth to it. But
I mean, yes. This is probably true of like everybody or anybody that played Melee and tried to play like in tournaments. When I played Melee for the longest time, I just played it with me and my friends, and that was it. We didn't really have any concept of, oh, you can go to like your local game store and play like a tournament against other people that aren't in my normal friend group. And yeah, by the time that rolled around, Melee wasn't really like popping off and shit.
Ultimately, he keeps his game extremely healthy, and in many ways to me is the perfect top tier you could ask for. Meta Knight, on the other hand, flies a little under the radar.
Yeah.
He will know that he's broken, but he doesn't have the same legacy that Fox has, specifically because his game died. Maybe there's still some people who play on Discord, I get it, but
Yeah, apparently, but I didn't know this at the time, or at least me and my friends didn't. Whenever we picked up Brawl on day one, the game didn't really feel as fast as the previous install, because what was it? Didn't it go like Melee then Brawl, or did it go? I think it went Melee into Brawl, and then the Wii, and then Wii U. I think I skipped, and then we have like Ultimate. I think I skipped one or two in there, maybe, but I remember like when we first picked up Brawl, we could tell that it just didn't feel the same and as fast as Melee was.
I don't care. And Brawl died for many reasons, so let's get this out of the way quickly. Brawl isn't dead because of this.
Yeah.
Tripping is a random mechanic that can occur at the start of a run that puts your character in knockdown.
Yeah, me and my friends didn't even know about this, that this is just like a random thing that can happen to any character. And I didn't put two and two together because at the time we were just all like middle school kids just eating up whatever we were served, even if that was shit. We didn't really take into account, you can have an opinion and just be like, yo, this tripping mechanic is bullshit. Why did you put this in the game?
It's very dumb and extremely bad for the competitive state of Brawl by encouraging players to engage defensively, because running always has a chance of putting you in a literal disadvantage rather than the conceptual risk that is approaching. It makes the game slow, stiff, and defensive. However, people over-exaggerate how detrimental this mechanic is, and it would be more accurate to say that it's a straw man for the many other systems that slowed down Brawl's pace. A pace that both Meta Knight and Fox were destined to fight against. From their inception, both of these characters were set to speed up the pace of their game, being the vessel that allowed players to capitalize on every mistake and push forward with even the most minuscule of advantages.
Yeah, like the Super Smash series, at least for me and my friends, was always about not necessarily picking like the character that did the most damage, but honestly, we just picked the characters that we liked the most. That was it. Like, I didn't play a lot of Nintendo games, so I didn't really have any like character allegiance or anything like that. I was just like, oh, this character looks cool. Oh, that's Pikachu. Oh, that's Kirby. I know those characters, and so on and so forth. And then, oh, Snake. Oh, look at Snake. I remember playing Metal Gear Solid. Then, oh, he can do the mortar slide thing. my buddy could do it because he had internet and practiced this shit, and I didn't, or like I didn't have the game. If I wanted to play Brawl, I had to go over to my buddy Kyle's house. Yeah, and it was always me and him versing, like 3 stock, Final Destination, Meta Knight v Snake. That's what it was with me and my friends.
Regardless of the opponent, regardless of the circumstance, speed was their motive by any means necessary. They'd do this by upholding the 5 aggressive commandments.
Yeah.
You must be swift.
ABC, always be aggressive.
Well, that's a yes. Calm down, fellas. You must maintain the tools to keep your opponent in your bite.
Yeah.
Certainly true. Hey, put him down. He's had enough. You should keep your foe guessing at all times. It's a work in progress. You must be firm, but fair. But are you listening?
What?
And most important of all, come hell or high water, you will not seek to slow the gears of progress. Where'd they go? And with those commandments mostly bestowed upon them, they set...
Yeah, it was just play aggressive, play in your face. If the overall entirety of Super Smash Brawl felt slow, in order to combat that, just pick the fast characters. It's as simple as that. That's all that went through our heads. But yeah, we didn't really put together like the tools until like the game was like almost like maybe 3/4 of the way done. We didn't realize like who was good and bad. We just liked who we liked. But by the time we realized who was good and bad, like the next game was out. So we're like, oh, gotcha.
Forth to maintain and build speed in their respective kingdoms. On the surface, they seem to do this in very similar ways.
And what's kind of funny is like in retrospect, with all this like speed and back and forth dashing and shit, I would have to imagine. No, not imagine. There were multiple times when our buddy Pat would just come in, and so my buddy lived in like this mobile home, and he had Super Smash Brawl, and it would be me, Julian, and Kyle a lot of the times, just going to Kyle's house to play Super Smash Brawl, and it was like loser gives up the controller or something like that. And our buddy Pat came over a lot of the times, and I remember him saying that multiple times he didn't even have to set foot in the house. He could just hear the thumbsticks clacking against the plastic, like a back and forth, like, you know what I mean? It's just like thumbsticks, like bang, 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 and like the buttons and the triggers, just like it's the most ridiculous sound. If you know, you know.
Fox used his mobility to duck and dive his way through the opponent's pressure and blast through any defenses. This kept the opponent guessing. A well-played defense wasn't just big hitboxes. This video isn't about you, go away. And strong projectiles, it required timing, precision, and a feel for the Fox. Meta Knight didn't always dodge and weave, but his fast ground speed and 5 jumps let him stick to you no matter how hard you tried to run. Once he was stuck, he had everything he needed to take you down. Pretty decent grabs, the excellent tornado, this up air, that might be a little...
Yeah, I abused the shit out of that, dude. Hell yeah.
Too good. Basically, every button was perfectly set up to knock you back just far enough to put Meta Knight in a position where he was able to take control of the stage and punish you for trying.
And oh my god, don't forget his down tilt. His down tilt was super, like, it was like double the length of his body.
Trying to take control back. Fox is very much the same. Grab game, godlike. Combo game, goated. This down B, whoa, that might be a little too good. When these characters were controlled by the inexperienced, they functioned completely as intended.
Yeah.
And to some extent, they weren't even the...
Wait. Super Smash Bros. Melee tier list #1. Okay, you got like Sheik, the Fox Falcon, Marth, Mario, and everybody else. Gotcha. And then Super Smash Brawl came out. Wait, what is this? Meta Knight has always been considered the best character in Brawl. Here I mean that at the time there were more potential, or there was more from potential from other characters to compete alongside him. Okay, so yeah, like it was always me on Meta Knight and my buddy Kyle on on Snake, and we were just like, he would always control the ground because Snake had the mines, the grenades, and the mortar slide. If you touch the ground, I'm like having to worry about, oh, does this motherfucker holding on a grenade? Is he about to shield with it? Am I keeping track of where the mine was? And then I have to keep account, whatever I touch the ground, he's about to mortar slide into me and knock me up. And watching a match between these two is so hilarious. But yeah, was it? I think. Let me see. What did my buddy Julian play? Where was she? I think he played Zelda. Yeah, this was his jam right here, middle tier. That was all him, and he was actually pretty good at it. He was a pain in the ass, dude. And then what was it? Our buddy Pat. He played Link. There's Link on here. There's Link at the bottom. Oh my god. The second worst character. Oh jeez.
Best. In the budding landscapes, characters like Sheik and Marth in Melee or DDD in Brawl had an incredible initial punch. Tools that were simple to use and exploit made them more dominant in an uninformed landscape. But that environment is temporary, and as experience bored down the mines of understanding, it would only be a matter of time before these two initial impressions would fade, uncovering who they really were. As the days drew on, Fox remained a bit more of the same. His combo game got more complex, and the power of his movement became more pronounced as he upheld the commandments for the most part. Yeah. Meta Knight, on the other hand, was quickly revealing some ulterior traits. The strength of his tools was decisive.
Yeah, he just had good moves, period. Plus, Meta Knight had a really small hitbox. His moves, a lot of the hitboxes on his moves were just way bigger than his body. So anytime he's like in a tornado, the hurt box actually extends like a little bit past this and a considerable amount above his head and a little bit below his feet. So, and he's inside this gigantic thing. So unless you have like a projectile, I don't remember like if this thing like reflected projectiles or lasers or something like that. I forgot. It's been so long.
But how he could use those to achieve victory was divisive. Something you've got to understand about what Meta Knight would eventually become is that he was still bound by the laws of his game, and I don't mean that from this Fable-esque perspective. When it comes to games, there are laws that govern how the experience works. It doesn't matter how hard I want Fox Up Smash to do 150 by itself, the laws of the game means that it will only ever do 24 at most.
Yeah.
Meta Knight might have had all the tools to be aggressive, but the laws that aggression was surrounded by meant his intended method to push advantage was extremely limited. That up air, really good. Like,
oh yeah, this thing is like double his body width length. This was like stupid good. It's massive. It's like 3 to 4 times the size of his body. And big slash. And then you could cancel it into a jump, and then out of that jump you could just do it again. So then you could carry people just like straight up, and they'd be hit like 4 or 5 times with just a single up air, just got off a hit and like getting hit once. It was crazy. It extends forward a little bit, extends backward a little bit. It's insane.
Really good, but not for the reasons it was supposed to be. It should be a combo tool, repeating into itself to keep the damage going, and against a select few fast fallers, that is what it does, but that's the exception to the norm. Thanks to air dodge being instant and letting you move through your opponent as you do so, if the opponent got out of hit stun fast enough, they could air dodge through most follow-ups. This if, though, was more frequently a when that came almost instantly. Brawl's knockback model pushed you a large initial distance only to have you quickly lose that momentum, giving your opponent control of their character before a true combo was normally possible. Ooh. As such, up air more frequently found use to cover platforms, to hit and reset in the character's favor, more than to press forward and close out a stock. This was just part one of many problems Meta Knight's design would run up against.
Yeah, like another... Meta Knight was just really good at accumulating damage, but the thing, or at least the thing that I thought was kind of tough, was like getting like the final kill on a character. Like he had a lot of good like poke moves and like combos. They were kind of like low damage, but it was trying to get that final like knockout. With I mean, at least that I had trouble with. I was always trying to like finish it with like an up B or maybe some smash or like a grab or something like a down grab or what was one where he's like there was one where he like hit, like was it the feet one where he like stomps on you and then they just go shooting up or some shit.
Fields were incredibly strong, and even the best movement was stiff. The laws of the world didn't favor what this character was designed to do, but what Meta Knight had didn't need
The
any
nader.
of that. In all his strengths, he was overtuned, excessively immobile, and unreasonably strong. So when he was denied the option to push, it would become the opportunity to repress. For example, up air is fast, large, and massively disjointed.
Yeah.
The perfect tool to wall someone from below. Now on a lot of characters, being able to wall someone above you is only useful in combo situations and shocking. It might be possible to control the space of a platform, especially great when tech chasing, but it wouldn't have any application, say, off stage. Gravity drags you down, and with only one mid-air jump, you're banking a lot on a predictable option even if it briefly gives you some space. But what if you had 5?
What if you had
Suddenly,
5, yeah.
walling from below the stage, especially when you have invincibility every time you grab the ledge, becomes a very
So I don't think I played like this style. This was scummy to me. I was like, this is just stupid. Like, why would you cut like play down here, even if you have 5 jumps? I don't know. I just never thought this style of play was fun.
viable time-wasting strategy, or at the very least becomes a way to force your opponent to give you the ledge. The aggressive properties, the speed of the attack, and the disjoint to make sure that it doesn't trade, it was all bent and twisted to make for a defensive night.
Oh my god, I forgot he had that counter where he goes invisible, and while you're invisible, you could like kind of move a little bit.
As people
Oh my
struggled
God.
to approach or force the Meta Knight back to the stage. Without even doing any damage, Meta Knight would take over control of the match, not by keeping the opponent guessing, but by keeping the opponent waiting. Regardless of where you looked, this was a constant of the character, the mixing of hypermobility with strong normals unintentionally melding to create nearly unstoppable situations. Retreating fair causing a temporary no man's land. Tornado was so mobile that if it failed or succeeded to hit, you could retreat to safety. Shuttle Loop let you reset positioning with enough safety that it was impossible to use his own defensive strategies to back him into a corner. Not that that would help to begin with, because again, none of these tools were being used how they were supposed to. In many cases, it wasn't even possible to. This made Meta Knight this almost immovable wall, placing down tilts, fairs, and dares just outside of your comfort zone, but rarely getting the opportunity to push forward with them. The sheer power of these tools was immense, but the best ways to—
Yeah, dude, when you leave players to their own devices, you get what's called emergent gameplay, and a lot of the times that's how like metas are created. People will just play the shit out of like hours and hours out of characters to try to figure out what is best. And unfortunately with Meta Knight, he just had good moves, period. And yeah, you know, you got a lot of up air spamming, a lot of like neutral air spamming, a lot of tornadoes, not a lot of counters really.
to apply them meant that Meta Knight's fastest path to victory was commonly the slowest method. This was brought to the forefront of the meta by players like Mewtwo King, who was a powerhouse of the game, bleeding out the timer and maximizing the potential of the character's hit and run playstyle. So even if some—
this doesn't really make sense to me. I know he's like really good and everything. I don't know, but he played the game for like a tournament purposes, for like money and shit, and you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. I don't know, me and my friends were just like casuals that just enjoyed playing the game, so we were always like in each other's faces and whatnot.
some players like Shadow were attempting to play as quickly as possible, they'd be outshone by the more defensive, even campy style of the character. Meanwhile,
that's kind of weird, picking an aggressive character and playing defensive with them. So like the best example that I have is for like seldom have ever, or at least to my knowledge, like which is like kind of limited. Um, anytime like I picked up a fighting game, the faster characters only always felt better to play, and it never occurred to me to play defensive with them. There was a brief bout in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 where this dude, what was his name? I think it was like Chris G. He picked up like Morgan or somebody and like two other people, but the gameplay style was just cover the screen of fireballs and play defensive as shit. Wait till you get a hit and then go in. And like watching it is like, dang, it's like I do not envy like his opponent right now, because at the time I was like super into Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I'd pick like an aggressive team like Wolverine, Wesker, Akuma, or something like that, and I would always be trying to like just get in and do combos and shit like that. I my knowledge of like any like much the same way with Super Smash, my knowledge of the game wasn't that broad because I didn't play against a lot of people that were like that much better than me.
Meanwhile, Fox was advancing in an entirely different direction. He was leaning towards his intended design, but it wasn't because Fox was a better designed character. The laws of the land let Fox thrive. Thanks to these three core options, every character had the potential to be fast, but those with a good dash dance and 4-speed could really push the movement to the limit.
Bro, that camera is just like in and out and in and out. Like, Jesus.
For Fox, this meant his high base mobility let him have layers to his maneuvers, with that universal movement also allowing other characters to compete and race alongside him. With everyone gradually expanding their potential movement, what Fox's version of fast was could only grow as the players who invested the most time into the character pushed the limit on what was possible for him, a skill that would slowly become a requirement as the days drudged on. Fox has strong tools, without a doubt. There's only a fringe set of attacks in his kit that aren't very good, and depending on the player's skill level, even that's debatable. But he's not a Samus, or a Peach. Characters that in themselves have high skill ceilings, but low skill floors thanks to a couple of powerhouse attacks letting them make for simple and effective strategies. Instead, Fox has to lean into his mobility. Nair, drill, and dash attack are strong moves, but they have to be paired with his mobility to really be effective. Throw out any of these with the wrong placement or the wrong height, and you're effectively throwing a free opportunity for your opponent to bite back. While there is some disjoint on these moves, it isn't anything that would let you wall out for an excessive amount of time, encouraging you to dive in. This is a theme in Fox's toolset. These moves are extremely strong, but they're not efficient walls.
Yeah, they're not overwhelmingly oppressive. And also they kind of make sense. You know, the little forward kick, oh, the hitbox is probably right in front of him, not on top of him or behind him at all. Or his little like aerial cartwheel thing. It's like, oh, there's two hitboxes. They pop out and then another one pops out and then the move is done. It's not like the Meta Knight Tornado where it's like a gigantic hitbox and it lets you like float up a little bit, or the shuttle loop, which, you know, you do it, it comes out damn near instantly. You get a shitload of vertical, you can knock out with it, and then at the end of it, you can kind of like fly around if you do this like weird little up and down thing.
It's not to say that defensive Foxes don't come around occasionally, especially in the right matchups, but the way the moves are strong drives most people towards more aggressive play. They pop you up at just the right angle for follow-ups when you're pressing forward, but lose a lot of their oomph when you're retreating with them. So the Fox that gets the most mileage out of their tool sets are often the ones that use the tools with their mobility to dodge and weave and press forward. This combination of the laws of the world and the strengths of the character would have been enough to uphold the first three commandments, but there was one more thing that would push Fox from good to greatness. This move would become iconic, not only for Fox, but for Melee as a whole.
Yeah, the shine. Bro, I remember like a couple years ago, somebody made like a tool-assisted match between two Foxes, and what ended up happening is like they used shine like a shitload of times because the move, it comes out on like what, frame 1 or 2 or something like that. It knocks sideways, and it's just, and if you leave it on, it just reflects like lasers and shit and projectiles. It's just a good ass move.
Beneath its simple exterior was a weapon so powerful it would tear through the cast for years to come,
Yeah.
and mold Fox to be a creature of bane. Frame 1 activation and being jump cancelable made this move very, very strong. So much so that we're running out of the pages to give this part of the story proper nuance. So understand that the properties here only scratch the surface of what this move allows Fox to do. While it might not have an immediate power like Samus's charge shot, it's the speed that it comes out with the versatility that comes from the jump cancel.
Yeah, and you gotta remember, like, it comes out on frame 1. In a fighting game, a lot of the times, like, a jab in a fighting game will be anywhere from, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 frames, and those are pretty fast. But for a move to come out on frame 1, you can't react to that. Like, it's literally impossible.
That allows Fox to barrel through characters in a way that very few others can. This character can run at you, and if the shine lands or is blocked, Fox can take the cancel properties to spin this into a combo or something that leads to a combo. Literal advantage is constantly on the tip of his fingers given the right distance, but the cancel properties also allow him to use this move passively to create space. His movement and more conventional attacks combined with shine let him always be just one right move away from putting the opponent's stock to an end. He
ABC, always be shining.
just needs to know when to pull the trigger. As a result, for the opponent, you are constantly on your toes. You need to be at the top of your game and actively looking to call him out at every possible opportunity. Because if you're waiting around for him to give you an inch, he's got everything he needs to take a mile. With this, he doesn't just uphold the first 3 commandments, he emblazons them into every single match he's in. He held everything he needed to push through and force situations on his opponent at every opportunity. And if that was all he did, the story would end here. Meta Knight rejected the role he was given and Fox accepted it. A simple tale of order versus chaos. But it's really the last 2 commandments that are the most important. While this might seem like a story of kings, it's really a tale of the people. And it's these last 2 points that are vital for keeping.
Bro, what is this Pikachu? What the fuck is this? This is so, like, off-putting.
The people involved. If a character is unfair, the people are going to end up frustrated, even if they're not the best. Wobbling, Ice Climber's extremely simple infinite, was banned for this exact reason. Yes, it might have given a character who wasn't the strongest an opportunity to tango with the best, but the lack of effort required for Ices to kill made the game frustrating. It wasn't fun, and even if they didn't win, wobbling would drive players away from the game due to how unfair it was.
Me and my friends had no idea what wobbling was, and I would bet if I were to ask them, they probably, and I were to show them, oh, Ice Climbers is really good because they can do this. They can bring you up to 999 damage, but they can't kill you because their moves suck, but they can do this. They would probably be like, well, we didn't know that shit at the time because we weren't really too, like, plugged into the internet. So, whatever.
As a result, for the health of the kingdom, wobbling was banned. Ices suffered for it at first, but for everyone, including Ices, the effect that it had on people's morale to play the game was undoubtedly positive. Fairness is an important element of the game.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of level of fairness. I mean, and I think Super Smash does that in spades, in that, and it's gotten better with each installment of the game. Just look at items and stages and the different types of, stages that you can have. Like, there's an entire item list in Super Smash where you can toggle on and off each item. And a lot of the stages, there's like a creative version of the stage with a bunch of like elemental like hazards and whatnot. Or you can play the tournament mode of that stage where it keeps the same theme, but it'll just be like a final destination or like a 3-plat or a 2-plat thing version of the stage, and it's fair and there's no environmental hazards, but it still gives you the vibe of the special cool stage or whatever. Like things like that, and giving the players more options to play is, I think, like better for the overall health of the game.
But being the king is inherently unfair. You are stronger than those around.
But conversely, the game does not have like a ban system in the way that League of Legends has. So I know like in League of Legends, I don't know, like there's like, was it like 200 characters or like coming in close to that or something? I have no idea. But you can only ban like what, 5 characters on each team, so like 10 total. Like I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world for Super Smash to have like some sort of mode where you can select all the items, like turn them on and off, have like a stage selector, turn those on and off, and then have like a little character ban thing to figure out, let's try to like make it a little bit more balanced gameplay, tier list wise, I guess, and allow the players, not the developer, the players to figure out what's good and bad. Have like maybe like a 3-character or a 4-character ban, or maybe even 2 characters, and it would force players to be good. Like they can't just one trick anything. You have to come in with like 2 or 3 good characters. If like maybe your first 2 get banned, it's like, oh, I gotta be good with 3 characters. And I think that's a little cooler and adds to the longevity of a game. Yes, it does make it a little bit more, I don't know, complicated / difficult to be like a competitive player. But I mean, if you like the game enough to like play the game competitively, then I mean, if you're on that level, I don't think it would be a big ask.
You. So in some respect, both of these characters have already failed. Talk to any Melee player or ex-Brawlhead and they will have a massive list of complaints about the character. This is just what happens when you invest hundreds to thousands of hours into a game. However, it's the types of complaints that these characters generate that's most important. Fox's main complaints mostly revolve around what he does. The pressure Shine creates, the way that he can track you down, the fact that he has no obvious weaknesses relative to other characters, requiring you to have an in-depth knowledge of split-second scenarios to get the upper hand. It's not that he stops you from playing the game, it's that when he's played right, the game revolves around him. Meta Knight, though, has much more intrusive problems. It goes beyond having to respect him at all times. This character never lets you play your game.
Yeah.
In some ways that's obvious, camping under the ledge and flying under the stage, but even when not actively insidious, you are still at the whim of Meta Knight. You're losing in neutral the whole time thanks to the disjoint of his attacks and unparalleled control that he has over the stage, clinging to any opportunity to get hit. And then when you finally get it, nothing. You're almost never rewarded for your hits. The laws that are holding back Meta Knight.
I mean, to be fair, whenever I was versing my buddy Kyle and his snake, okay, that sounds weird, whatever. It wouldn't take a lot of hits because Snake was a heavy character and Meta Knight was a light character. It wouldn't take a lot of damage for me to get like knocked out. But that was just like I guess the yin and yang of that brawl matchup. I mean, I don't know the actual like split of like 50-50, 60-40 type of deal. Maybe it's more polarizing in someone's favor. But I thought it was hard as fuck to verse Snake, because I would eat like maybe 2 or 3 grenades, and then all of a sudden I eat one little split kick where it extends like at least a whole character length past Snake, and then all of a sudden eat 2 or 3 grenades, and then boop, I'm out of there. And then here I come with Meta Knight having to try to accumulate like maybe 100 plus 120 150 damage onto Snake before I'd even have a chance at knocking him out. It was a marathon with those type of matches.
Are also holding back everyone else. So with every opening, you are getting 1 or 2 single touches, only to then return to a scenario where you're losing neutral again. Unless you're a character with chain grabs, you're fighting for stray hits the whole match, with each progressive hit only dragging out how long it takes for the next interaction to occur. Meta Knight's absurd aerial mobility between jumps, flight, shuttle loop, dimensional cape, and if all else failed, a hitbox the size of Skyrim forced you to respect him on the way back. As the percent climbed, this meant having to wait longer and longer for you to get your opportunity to strike back, since trying to pressure him off stage is effectively a death sentence. This unfortunate reality meant that even the most aggressive, fastest, machine gun Meta Knights would still bring down the pace of the match, because once you started to win against him, your only option was to wait for him to give you the chance to fight back. You, while playing against Meta Knight, are constantly having to play his game, because his tools are just too strong to enforce your own game plan. But even when you're playing well against him, the tables never truly turn. And even if he wasn't the best, waiting for someone to give you the chance to win, even if guaranteed, isn't an enjoyable experience.
It probably
That's one of the things that makes Fox fun to play against for a lot.
Bro, anytime my buddies tried to mirror me, and they tried to pick in Super Smash, it's called Dittos, I remember. Anytime somebody tried to ditto me, like meta versus meta, it was the most annoying shit. I was like, oh, this is what you guys are going through. Ah, I get it. Maybe I should pick someone different.
Lot of players. He's hard as hell in the neutral, but once you finally find your opening or exploit one of the Fox's poorly thought out approaches, he is the perfect weight and force speed that makes him a combo feast as the opponent. Against Fox, the tables can flip incredibly hard, and while you have to fight for every opportunity, you can find circumstances to play your game with a pace and ferocity that Fox had the whole time. This, in my opinion, is one of the things that keeps Fox so electric after all these decades that Melee has been around. He's a powerhouse in almost every sense, but the vulnerability that he has in his combo potential not only lets other characters still have their opportunity to shine, but also encourages everyone to improve their game. Work for that extra little percent. Search for slight improvements in timing. Find that opportunity to play your game. Because if the beast bleeds, we can kill it. Melee has the reputation of being this lightning fast game, not because it's intrinsically fast. I've seen enough floating matchups go the full 8 miles to know that, even if it hurts to admit. But Fox, as the...
I did not know that people would play with that type of play style in Super Smash tournaments. Like 8-minute round, 3 stock, and your game plan is to just accumulate a little bit of damage and then run away. I could not imagine doing that for 20 years. That's insane to me.
Staple, as the king, was just vulnerable enough to bring out the pure ballistic speed everyone wants this game to have. Fox didn't just uphold the 5th commandment.
Everybody wants the speed because everybody wants and likes the speed of Melee because it's like a pseudo fighting game and it's very responsive to your movements. If that's like at least like one thing I can say that's super fun about Smash is like it's a really polished fighting game and it's really responsive and snappy and it feels good when moves connect.
He reversed it. Unlike Meta Knight, who despite his best intentions, couldn't help but slow it down. He was just unapproachable. The laws of the world too cruel when he would attempt to push, and the reward for trying to put him in his place often being punishment. The incentive for the opponent was not to find their chance, but to sit and wait for the gates of opportunity to open. He just wasn't right for the world he was in. Too powerful to have other characters keep up, and not powerful enough to transform the game into what people wanted it to be. The Fox was a king who reflected and enhanced the desires of his people. Those who are drawn to Smash often do so in search of a quick, explosive game. He was a king who demanded that from those who were there. And what better is it than a king who embodies and emblazons the requests of the people? While his kingdom sees setback after setback, it seems almost immortal for the storms that it's weathered. Its castle's still standing today.
Oh yeah.
This king, however, had failed to retain the morale of his people, and with that, the people lost interest.
Yeah, but was it really Meta Knight's fault, or was it just the game, like the core game mechanics, in that even if you take Meta Knight out, the game still felt really slow? I mean, yes, it was Super Smash, but compared to Melee, they did take a lot of the movement out of the game.
At times, he was the antithesis of what the people wanted, despite his best intentions, and as he failed to engage with his audience, his empire would soon come to dwindle. Some simply left, others crafted their own kingdom within Brawl.
Oh yeah.
But as time marched forward, the kingdom would continue to dilapidate, until only the ruins of a game that once was remained. This is not an advertisement, but if you're a Smasher in the EU or just looking for somewhere to play Smash, I do have an event that I want you to know about.
Oh,
you might have
shit.
noticed that I was using a Go to Fate tag in a lot of the footage, and I specifically mean a UK tournament between July the 14th and the 16th. Fate is the big UK and EU major that we have that to me is kind of like the
I'm a little
perfect
late.
tournament. If you want to be a tryhard, you definitely can. It's a 24-hour venue and 100-something setups, but if you're like me and just want to have a good time, it's right by the beach. There's a couple of bars
that's
on
cool.
site, and you also have on-site accommodation
Bro, is he still doing this tournament? I think that's pretty cool.
as a part of your venue fee. So, you're bound to meet new people and make a couple of friends that you'll see constantly throughout the weekend. This year it's also not just Melee, we have Ultimate, Mario Kart Wii, Lethal League Blaze, there's tons of stuff.
Nice.
Maybe even the game that Nintendo doesn't want you to know about. I'm trying to keep
What?
this short enough so that you know this isn't an ad read, but if you're in Europe and have a chance, I highly recommend that you at the very least give this tournament a look. Keep in
Alright.
mind that it is 18 plus because of the on-site bars, so
Yeah.
drink responsibly, be sensible, and for the love of God, know your limits. It's basically like a weekend holiday and a tournament wrapped up into one. Trust me,
Bro,
it's
if that was like around me, like where I lived, I would have totally gone to this.
gonna be sick, and if you don't go, at the very least, I'm going. That's all I wanted to say. Please consider giving it a look. It's my favorite tournament of the year, so yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Thank you for watching, and if you're a Melee player or a Brawl player that wants to tap into the very large wall of nuance that got left out here, please do. This topic of healthy top tiers and this specific comparison is a whole rabbit hole that this video hardly even scratches the surface of. Also, Fox's arm has been clipping through his sleeve the whole video.
Really? Wait, let me go back.
If I was to ask you for a game...
Let me go back. I don't know why. Internet is being so slow. Pause. I mean, anyway, yeah, this is a really cool video and just outlined why the top tier character of each game either enhanced or literally ruined the rest of the game for each respective game. Like the skill ceiling of Fox, people were okay with Fox being a top tier because people could rise to the occasion and reach that skill ceiling and punch through it and maybe raise the skill ceiling of it. That's where Fox's power came from. The ability to utilize his toolkit in like a very skillful way. Meta Knight, I mean, shit, you could just hit buttons and do moves and you're pretty good at Meta Knight for the most part. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I still had fun playing it though with me and my buddies. We played the shit out of Brawl. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm looking forward to the next one, dude. But yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.